The theft of fire was more than a mere loss of property for the gods. It was a cosmic shift that Zeus could not let go unpunished. While Prometheus suffered his eternal agony on the jagged rocks of the Caucasus, the King of Olympus turned his cold, calculating gaze toward the mortals below. He saw them huddled around their new hearths, growing bold and civilized with the power of the divine flame. Zeus knew that a direct strike of lightning would only make them martyrs. To truly break the human spirit and restore the distance between the divine and the mortal, he needed something far more subtle, a snare so exquisite that no man would ever think to flee from it. He summoned Hephaestus, the divine blacksmith and master of crafts. Zeus gave him a strange and specific command: "Fashion me a creature made of earth and water. Give her the voice of a mortal and a strength that can endure, but let her face and form be as beautiful as an immortal goddess." Hephaestus, ever the obedient servant, took the fertile soil of the earth and the clear waters of the spring, kneading them together with his powerful hands. Under his expert touch, a form began to take shape: the first woman. She was a masterpiece of clay and spirit, a vision of grace that seemed to breathe with the very essence of the natural world. Zeus looked upon the unfinished creation and smiled a terrifying, silent smile. He called this project a Kalen Kaken, a beautiful evil. It was designed to be a gift that would bring joy to the eyes but ruin to the heart, a paradox of beauty and destruction. As the other gods began to gather around the divine workshop, they did not yet understand the true nature of Zeus's plan. They only saw a creature of light and wonder, unaware that she was the chosen vessel for a vengeance that would echo through every future generation of humanity. The workshop of Hephaestus turned into a divine assembly as the gods gathered to finish what the blacksmith had started. They named her Pandora, meaning the all-gifted, because every Olympian was ordered by Zeus to contribute a part of their own essence to her creation. Athena, the goddess of wisdom, draped her in silver robes and taught her the intricate art of weaving. The graces and persuasion adorned her with golden jewelry and the fresh flowers of spring, making her glow with an ethereal light. Aphrodite, the goddess of beauty, bestowed upon her a grace that was as cruel as it was mesmerizing, ensuring that any man who looked at her would feel a deep, unquenchable longing. However, the most dangerous gifts came from Hermes, the messenger of the gods and the master of trickery. At Zeus's command, Hermes infused her with a shameless mind and a deceitful heart. He gave her the power of persuasive, silver-tongued speech, allowing her to mask her true intentions behind a veil of charm.
Listen closely, great gods, and let my words weave truth into your hearts.
She was a masterpiece of divine engineering, a perfect goddess on the outside, but a vessel designed for a hidden purpose on the inside. As Pandora prepared to descend to the mortal realm, Zeus presented her with a final object. It was a heavy earthen jar, often mistakenly called a box, sealed tightly and covered in mysterious symbols. "This is my wedding gift," Zeus proclaimed, his voice resonant and firm.
"Carry it with you to the world below, but heed this warning. You must never, for any reason, lift its lid."
Pandora accepted the jar, her eyes lingering on its seal. But as Zeus walked away, Hermes whispered one last thing into her ear.
"Pandora, this jar contains the secrets of the world, perhaps even hope."
A burning, insatiable curiosity. The jar was a secret, and Hermes had made sure that Pandora was a creature who could not let a secret remain untold. Escorted by the fleet-footed Hermes, Pandora descended from the clouds and set foot upon the lush green earth. She was a sight that made the birds cease their singing and the wind hold its breath. She was led directly to the home of Prometheus, the brother of the shackled Prometheus. Prometheus, even in his agony on the mountain, had seen the shadows of Zeus's mind. He had sent urgent, desperate messages to his brother.
"Never, under any circumstances, accept a gift from the King of Olympus."
But Prometheus was the god of afterthought. He did not possess his brother's vision. He lived only in the present moment, blinded by what was directly in front of him. When he looked at Pandora, he did not see a divine weapon or a cosmic snare. He saw a miracle. Her beauty was so radiant and her voice so musical that the warnings of Prometheus vanished like mist under a summer sun. He ignored the echoes of his brother's wisdom and welcomed her into his home as his wife, believing that the gods had finally rewarded him for his loyalty. For a brief season, their life was an idyllic dream. The earth was still young, and the labor of men was not yet a heavy burden. However, in the quiet corner of their dwelling, the earthen jar sat in a heavy silence. It was a dark, unmoving presence that seemed to pulse with a hidden life of its own. Every time Pandora passed it, her hands would itch with the desire to touch the cold clay. She would remember Zeus's stern command, but the curiosity Hermes had planted in her was like a slow-burning fire that refused to go out. The secret began to grow louder than her reason. It whispered to her in the dead of night, suggesting that perhaps the punishment Zeus mentioned was actually a treasure he was too jealous to share. The jar was no longer just a gift. It had become a silent, heavy obsession that watched her every move, waiting for a single moment of weakness. Her fingers brushed the wax seal. It was cold and brittle. With a sudden, desperate movement, she broke the seal and gripped the heavy lid. No sooner had the clay edge been lifted than a dark, swirling cloud of invisible miseries erupted from the jar, screeching like 1,000 vengeful spirits as they rushed into the world. In that single catastrophic moment, the creeping rot of sickness and the heavy, withered hand of old age were unleashed upon the living. The bitter, back-breaking agony of toil followed, accompanied by the venomous sparks of strife that would soon set neighbor against neighbor, while the suffocating, hollow ache of sorrow spread like a poison through the air. These winged plagues flew through every window and over every mountain, staining the golden light of the earth with the shadows of mortality and pain. Pandora gasped, her eyes wide with a horror she could not name. She saw these dark spirits fly away, spreading across the sun-drenched valleys like a stain on silk. She realized, too late, that she had not found a treasure. She had released the hunters of humanity. In a panic, her hands trembling and her breath coming in jagged gasps, she threw her weight against the lid, slamming it back onto the jar with a resounding crash. The room fell silent again, but the world outside was already changed. The golden age was over, and the air was now heavy with the burdens of a new, cruel reality. Yet she had become the instrument of humanity's ruin. The beautiful evil Zeus had designed was now complete, but as she sat in the suffocating silence of her home, a tiny, rhythmic sound reached her ears, a soft fluttering, like the wings of a small bird trapped against glass, coming from the very bottom of the jar. Despite her terror, Pandora felt a strange, inexplicable pull toward the vessel one last time. She slowly lifted the lid, not with the feverish curiosity of before, but with a desperate, faint glimmer of prayer. From the dark depths, where the shadows of sickness and strife had lived, a tiny, glowing spark emerged. It did not shriek or growl. It rose with a gentle golden light that seemed to soothe the raw ache in her heart. This was Olympus, the spirit of hope. Zeus, in his infinite and cruel wisdom, had placed hope at the very bottom of the jar. Some say it was his final mockery, to give humans the ability to see a better future that would never truly arrive. But others believe it was the only mercy in the entire trap. While the evils of the world, the pain, the greed, and the inevitable decay, now roam free and invisible among us, hope remains the one thing that stayed. It is the only force that allows humanity to endure the weight of the other spirits. It is the reason why, despite the darkness Pandora unleashed, we continue to build, to love, and to dream. The myth of Pandora's box ends not with a victory, but with a balance. The golden age of innocence is gone forever, replaced by a world of struggle and mortality. But because Pandora caught that last, flickering light before it could escape, humanity possesses a weapon that even the gods cannot take away: the stubborn, irrational, and beautiful strength to hope against all odds.